Hello, everybody. Hello. So here we are with the Q&A from page 7 of the Hermetica. Page 7 of the Hermetica. Let me do this. Here we go. Just going to wait for a few more minutes to see who else is here. Let me know who you are. Tell me who you are. Yeah. So we're at chapter 1. Hi, Ms. M. I see you. Cyber, hey. Hey, Cyber. We got a couple of questions. The better man. Hey. I figured I'd give you guys, I didn't make this one private per se, because I want you to get a taste of what we're doing. So you were school. So we're going to do chapter 1 as a group. So if you haven't read chapter 1, then you should get on that. Because chapter 1, the Hermetic philosophy, they've been reading it, right? They've been reading it. And I've sent links out to people who have this already. Yeah? So they've been reading it, and I have a few questions that were submitted. So who is Hermes? Oh. Hermes is the Greek name of Thoth, the Atlantean, or Thoth, Thoth, the Atlantean. Who is it? An Atlantean? Yes, Atlantis. And for Kemet, where the black people were, they called him Tahuti. So he's got many names. He's got Thoth. He's got Hermes, which is Greek. He's got Tahuti, which is the African. And if you go Mayan as well, he's also got a name there. He's named after Teotihuacan. I can't even say it. It's such a word, you know. But that's who he is. But I want to read you the definition of something. I don't know if you've ever heard it before. I have it here. Let me go there. Have you heard of the phrase, something is hermetically sealed? Agnieszka, I see you. If you've heard that word, it's hermetically sealed. Here's the definition. In an airtight manner, so as to be completely airtight. It is sealed. So you're preserving the thing that is inside so that it does not degrade. It's airtight, so it's not going to break down. It's not going to degrade. So where did that name come from? Because we heard things are hermetically sealed, right? Hermetically sealed. That comes from his Greek name, Hermes. Now, to go all the way back, then you'd have to study the Emerald Tablets. But he's the writer of the Emerald Tablets. So now that we know who he is, what is the origin of the law? You see, back in the day when Thoth was living on Atlantis, right? He was always curious. He was always learning, and his father was an official. And one day, because he was just so enamored with wisdom and knowledge and learning, he was summoned. By who? I know it seems mystical, and I know it may be hard to grasp or to believe, but we've got to know where these laws come from. He was summoned by the 9. These 9 beings summoned him and said, listen, we're going to teach you so you can teach humanity, because Thoth wanted to be a teacher because he learned so much. He wanted to help humanity to rise. And because he did that, when he was summoned by them, they said, this is how creation happens. And they started the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, and gender. This is how creation happens. So he wrote these things down. Also in Egyptian times, he was known as the scribe of the gods. How so? He wrote things down that he was told to write down. So when he wrote these laws down and he started to teach them to humanity, they did not teach them to any and everybody. There's a reason for that. Not everybody is ready. The ones who are ready, they will come. Right? I'm going to get back here so that I can read it to you to tell you what it means. Okay? The reason why it was not taught to just any average person, because remember that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Here's why. Where fall the footsteps of the master, the ears of those ready for his teachings open wide. The KYBALION. Where fall the footsteps of the master, the ears of those ready for his teaching open wide. So they were ready to learn. He didn't have to go out and recruit anybody. They wanted to learn and they wanted to be there. Another axiom: when the ears of the students are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom. Hear it again. When the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh lips to fill them with wisdom. Now, when this happens, right, which means you're ready to do something. You're ready to be tutored. You're ready to be taught. You're ready to learn. You're eager. And when that happens, something is different about that person. That's where they're focused on, is learning, right? And so for that person, you've heard the saying, if a child doesn't want to learn, you can't force them. But if that child wants to learn, you can't stop them either, because it is the desire. Because that desire is the perfect embodiment of the law of cause and effect. We say it all the time when we say things like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? This is what we say, those axioms we say, the aphorisms. So you know who Hermes is, who Thoth is, and that begs more time as far as the emerald tablets go, to get an idea of who Thoth is and why he was compelled, because he saw the way that humanity was being treated. He saw the way that humanity was kept in the dark. And because he was hungry for knowledge and he knew what knowledge did and changed his life, that's what he wanted for humanity. And this is why he taught. This is why you hear his name 3, 4, 5 times, because that's how many times he came back, so he could teach the same thing over and over and over again. Why? You've heard of the Dark Ages, right? You heard of the Dark Ages. Why? Because the light of the law was gone. People got caught up and they were doing their own thing. They were trying to survive. They were trying to do this, that, and the other. So they stopped learning the law. But the problem when you stop learning the law, it's either you're going forward or you're doing the same thing. And so the law always will elevate you. So when you stop using the law because you're busy trying to do something else, the light dims. And then we get, then we allow ourselves to get caught up in the way of man. And we think that that's all we are. So then we start to hurt each other. But whereas if you live by law and practice it, the amount of hurt you inflict is minimal, because now you're cognizant of what you're doing. So you make those choices. So this is why the Dark Ages happened. It's like, when Christians were persecuted and the Holy Crusades. These are the things that happened because the law was hidden and taken from man, right? So he's been at work for quite some time. So we know his name and where he came from. We know the origin of the law, but let's touch on that again. The origin of the law and why he was teaching it. He was given it. He was given the information. He was told this is how creation happens every time, right? That's what he was told. This is how creation happens. So he made notes, and that's what he taught from. The question that we got again was, are the 7 principles alchemy, mental transmutation? Because when you read chapter 1, we hear things like people talk about the philosopher's stone, turning lead into gold, alchemy. What does that mean? Now, alchemy means, because it has it has one meaning, but in 2 ways, because remember, we're going to use the law of correspondence to help us to understand. Alchemy, transmutation. You are taking one thing and making it and changing it into another form. This is why they say you can turn lead into gold. This is the philosopher's stone. So apparently, if you found the philosopher's stone, let me go there. Hold on, so I can read it. Sometimes having to flip, to flip back and forth. The philosopher's stone, or more properly, the philosopher's stone. This is the way, just the apostrophe and the way you say it, is a mythic alchemical substance capable of turning base metals such as mercury into gold or silver. So then Thoth was busy teaching alchemy. Remember, he could not teach it to everybody. Why is that? He said, you can transform lead into gold. And do you know what people did? Went out there and tried to change lead into gold instead of reading between the lines as to what he said. Of course, right? Turning lead into gold. So turning the hard heart into something that is soft and pure, like gold. Your mind is what he was speaking of. And this is why parables were used, because for the ones who genuinely wanted to learn, they would not stop at the physical level. They would use correspondence as above, so below. So, okay, if I can transmute from one metal to another, what can I do with a mood? What can I do with my mind? And that's how that particular student, the one who was ready to learn, that's why they did that, as opposed to being caught up with trying to figure out, well, how can I make this philosopher's stone? There is some formula out there that has to do with urine and making the philosopher's stone. It doesn't sound very pleasant to me, but people have tried. One man actually did do something and document it, but it was taken down offline. Right? So that's why I say to you, the reason why he taught the way he did was because if you say these things, and you will know the heart of a person by way of the parable. He said, you can transform lead into gold. You can transmute lead into gold. All the people who were materialistic and wanted wealth and all of that stuff, they're like, oh, well, how can I do that? As opposed to the one who was actually ready to learn, who said, oh, well, teach me how to change my mind from one form to another. How can I do that? That's how you're not testing the person. You're showing them who they are. And when you see who they are and they see themselves, now you know which student is ready to learn. Does that make sense? Drop your questions in there if you have any, so that we can go a little bit deeper. So that alchemy and turning lead into gold means you're changing one mindset into something else. And the way to do that, right? Because people want to know how do you transmute? So to transmute is to change from one form to another. So why would you transmute? The form that you currently have now does not serve you any longer. So because we're talking mentally, you have an attitude that you have a way of seeing the world. that makes you say, why me? And so you think, well, you know what? That really doesn't serve me. I want to do something else. I want to do something better. I don't want to struggle or stay in that state anymore. That's what you're telling yourself. You don't want to stay there anymore. So because you don't want to stay there anymore, what do you do instead? That is how you transmute from where you are to where you want to be mentally. Because the universe is a mental creation. So if it's a mental creation, you have to change your mentality so that the thing on the outside that you encounter changes to match. So let me go back. Let me go back. Here's how you know, because like I said, not everybody is ready. And that's what this chapter is telling you. This chapter is telling you, here's the origin for all of you who read it. They've had 30 days to read it. So it says, so that according to the teachings, the passage of this book to those ready for the instruction will attract the attention of such as are prepared to receive the teaching. And likewise, when the pupil is ready to receive the truth, then this little book will come to him or her. Such is the law. Causation, right? And the Hermetic principle of cause and effect in its aspect of the law of attraction, because that's the term they've watered it down to. We'll expand on that in a minute so we understand what the KYBALION is saying. So when they say, oh, the law of attraction, you know what that means. It means you're going to transmute lead into gold. Why? Because you want the house, the money, the car, the spouse, right? Right. So that's why so many people are taken with the law of attraction. And they find that they get frustrated because they're trying to change one thing into another on the outside without first having done the inside. So what are you saying, Angela? You mean I have to get my life perfect before anything? No, because you're always using causation. You're always using mentalism on a daily basis. The difference is, are you conscious of what you're doing or are you unconscious of what you're doing? That's the difference between the two. Right? It says it will bring the lips and ear together, pupil and book in company. So mote it be. You see, the whole point, what this chapter is telling you, not just the origins, but it is telling you that nothing is actually withheld. You see, nothing is withheld. Nothing is withheld to those, what does it say? You have the keys. You can unlock any door because you know how to change this to alter that. Change the inward to alter the external. And that's why this basic understanding of just that chapter 1 of the Hermetic philosophy and how it came about and who Hermes Thoth was, Thoth, Tahuti, and why he was moved to do what he did. Right? Because he understood, yes, we want things. We need things. We can't be in the elements. You know what I mean? You need food, shelter, clothing. We need those things. We need abundance and prosperity. We need those things. But without the knowledge of them and how to transmute, move yourself from where you are to where you want to be, you will always spin your wheels. This is why it is a foundation to know these things. Not because, oh, so much work I have to do to change my life before I get things. No, you are already doing it. And all he's showing you here is how you're doing it. That's what he's showing you. So you get to understand the heart of a person when he starts saying things like, you know, you'll be able to open any door. Nothing will be withheld from you. You can solve any paradox, any mystery. Because he wants you to be able to have that confidence. The same way it was instilled in him because he was curious and he was learning. And then if you notice, he was summoned. This is where that scripture comes from. A man's gifts make room for him and brings him before great men. He was just so hungry. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness shall be satisfied. Again, where it comes from. Because he was so desperate to learn and to understand. It actually was, it sent this projection out. And that's why the 9 felt him. The 9 gods of the realm. And I know that seems so mystical. I know it does. Sounds so Lord of the Rings. But then you have to ask yourself, where did they get that idea? Where did they get that idea for the Lord of the Rings? Where did they get the idea for Star Wars? Use the Force. You know how he was sitting in the thing and the guard comes over and he waved his hand. He said, "You're clear to go." And then the guard goes, "Oh, you're clear to go," right? And they left. Use the Force. The law is the Force. But for those who don't know that it is there, that's where the problem comes in. If you don't know that it exists, then you're walking around and you're doing things, but they seem like a surprise, coincidence, serendipitous, like, you know, that's what it seems like. But when you see it, or people say, "Ooh, magic." Oh, it's magic, right? They say magic, but that's not the case. It is law, right? So for those of you who've read it and submitted your questions, I think that was all the questions we had, because they really wanted to grasp what that was. And I don't want to flick out from my phone to go back in there because I'm using my phone. But the art of Hermetic alchemy. There's a very famous line in the KYBALION that says, it is not denial. It's not vehement denial that will get you anything. You cannot deny your way out of anything. But it is transmutation that makes the change. This is why Neville Goddard would say things to you like, don't be mindless about it. Be deliberate, right? Because you can say, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, all you want. But if you don't understand that there's already something here in your mental world, you're going to meet with contradiction. Why can't I change my life? Why am I stuck? Because we don't know. It's hard to just stay on chapter 1, but you have to stay there, because back in the day, all of this teaching used to be done from mouth to ear, but he wrote it down. So how do we go about transmuting a bad thought to a good one? Is it the same as revision? Yes, Cyber. It is the exact same as revision. Why? It is the same with a slight variation, and I'll go over it. When we look at revision, we say, okay, this thing already happened, right? I was not pleased with this, so I'm going to put it in my mind as to how I want it to be. So you put it in your mind, but you can't undo what has already been set, like what already has formed back there. But what you can do to mentally transmute it is to change your perception of what happened and how it affected you, so that going forward, it no longer can affect you. So the question, how do you transmute a bad thought to a good one? Well, recognition first. So how did you come to the determination that this is a bad thought? See, some level of discernment has to be there. You say, well, this is a bad thought. Okay. So to transmute from there now, you recognize, oh, snap, that's an undesirable thought. I don't want that. What thought would I like instead? So that you can change your outward expression, your outward behavior. That's what you're doing by taking that, because the thought, remember, doesn't stay here. It comes out as words and action, right? The domino effect is just one thing happening. So if that thought is undesirable, you know, a bad thought, you examine it, you look at it and you say, okay, well, this is lead. I want gold out there. Right now I'm holding lead. So you say to yourself, okay, you see this thought? What is the opposite of this thought? What is the beneficial to this thought? Because this one is not beneficial. So what's the beneficial? That's how you transmute. You take it from, you recognize what it currently is, and this is why polarity, it's hard to stay on chapter 1. This is why polarity helps, because it shows you where you are and what you are doing, so that you can decide where you want to be and what you want to be doing. Because at the end of the day, you're taking lead behaviors and transmuting them, but the only way to transmute them is to change the mental perception of what you're doing. And if you change the mental perception, your behavior and your words have to change to correspond. And that's how you take that bad lead thought and make it into a golden experience. Does that make sense? Cyber. So complete indifference. Just drop it and choose something else, rather than changing the small details of what you're worrying over. Yes, this is why Neville Goddard says to you, think from the end, so you don't get lost or caught up in the little tiny details. Because you know exactly what the outcome is. It's like broke to wealthy. You don't want to go through and say, well, okay, I'm going to need this kind of job. And then I'll graduate to this kind of job. And then I'll get promoted to this one. And then bam, I got my money. No, see the end. Gainfully wealthy, right? Robert Millikan, he did that because he developed his own affirmation based upon his life, because he grew up poor. And he said, you know what? I don't want this for myself. So every day he would tell himself, I don't know how many times a day he told himself, but what he was looking at in his experience being poor was lead. That's what he was looking at. It was lead, useless to him to be poor. So what did he say? Instead of allowing, oh my God, I'm so poor, instead of allowing that to take a hold of him, he transmuted what he saw on the outside, that lead that was there. And he said, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. That's what he said to himself day in and day out. I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. That way he wins, they win. He's not taking advantage of anybody. He's not being taken advantage of. It's a level playing field and everybody benefits, but he is still lavish, steady, dependable, because that's what he wanted. He did not want to have to worry about bills. So in order to not have to worry about bills, well, then you need to be lavish. So yeah, you're lavish, but you want it to be steady. You want it always coming in, but you want it to be dependable, which means they'll just keep coming. But why will they come? Because you have integrity and you are mutually beneficial. So that's how he transmuted his thoughts of, oh my God, this poverty is no more lead. And that's what he became. He became this lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. That's what he did. So that is mental alchemy, mental transmutation, which teaches you in this first chapter that if you're looking outside, the outside is there as a result, as an effect, because of your mental faculties. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people, I'll go back to revision. A lot of people ask these questions. They say, well, how do you go back and, because somebody asked the question, well, how do I go back and revise that my parents were my parents? Of course, my eye twitches, right? How can your parents not be your parents? You can't erase them. They're here. Your mother gave birth to you. So you can't go back. Not like that. But to revise would be to say, you know what? I see what I came through. And it's lead I'm looking at. What do I want to experience from here on in? I want to build relationships that matter. I want to build relationships that are trustworthy. So that's when you can create your own affirmation that says, you know what? I build healthy relationships. I have healthy boundaries. That's how you build it now, because that's based upon what you don't currently have. So when you list what you don't have, you can create now from that list. So every time you use polarity, you are doing mental alchemy. This is why I tell you, you can't break the laws apart. They're one and the same. So when I start here on chapter 1, you just want to have to go through them all because they're interconnected. You can't break one from the other. But we break it out into the 7 so that they're easily understood and digested. But you're doing them all at the same time. It's one motion. That's why there's one law. Mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. And how do you know? Because as within you, so without. And why? Because everything moves from the inside to the outside of it. Why? Because it vibrates. That's why. That's why it's moving. But then it moves between two things. Where you are now and where you want to be. That's who's moving. You're moving. That's why we're not in a dual. We think we live in a dual world, but we don't. It's only one moving, and that's you. You're moving from where you are to where you want to be. And because you move from to, you develop a rhythm. And out of that rhythm is going to be influenced by causation. Because you do this, that happens. And why did that happen? What was the cause? The cause was the projection of the thought into the womb of creation to give you the experience back. So where does that projection happen? In the mind. From the conscious to the subconscious. Does that make sense? So that's why I don't want to read it, because you guys, that's what these questions are for that were submitted. So now a lot of people get caught on the word occult. OCCULT, occult. They get caught on that because we were taught that occult means evil. OCC, here's why etymology is important, to know the origin of something. Occult, ocular. OCC, you. Ocular, what's ocular? Eyes. Cult, something is hidden. What? Something is hidden from your eyes is what occult means. So then the question becomes, well, what's hidden from my eyes? But the church will tell you occult means devil. It means witchcraft. It means evil. You know why? So you won't look for it. That's why. If I can make you afraid, then you won't ask questions. And if you don't ask questions, you don't learn. If you don't learn, you don't grow, because you won't apply. And thus, why that scripture exists. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And people will swear to you up and down that occult means evil. I'm like, so when you have an ocular exam, are you evil? No. It is the eye. Something is hidden from your eyes. And so your curiosity should be, what's hidden from my eyes? These laws are hidden from your eyes. Does that make sense? Let me know. Let me know. So people like Pythagoras, Socrates, Plato, all of these people knew the laws. They went to Egypt to learn them. And when they learned them, this is where sacred geometry came from. you know, the tetrahedron, the cube, the icosahedron, the octahedron, and the dodecahedron. All of these things, those images showed you creation. They're the elements. Fire is the tetrahedron. The earth is the cube. The icosahedron is water. And the octahedron is air. Right? And so then you put those things together, you get the flower of life, you get the seed of life, you get the fruit of life. All of those come from the law itself. And so that kind of knowledge was not given freely. But the KYBALION says one should not be a mental miser, meaning you know the knowledge, you hold on to it for yourself, thereby depriving others of growing. But it doesn't stop you from sharing and sharing wisely. Does that make sense? Let me know if you have more questions. While I skim through. And see, so part of the reason why too that people, because remember, chapter 1 is just about the origin. That's what we're dealing with, the origin. So know, where did this come from? And it's so ingrained in our society. That's why I started off with something that is hermetically sealed. The integrity of this thing is being preserved. Funny how that would be, hermetically sealed. His name didn't just pop from the ceiling because they could have just simply said it was airtight. But airtight means hermetic. So you are preserving what? The integrity of the thing inside. So that's why when he wrote these laws down, he preserved them. That's why we use that word. It's hermetically sealed. You go to the Smithsonian, they have anything you see in the museum, hermetically sealed, so that it does not degrade. So now you see why these laws have not degraded over time. Because they can't. Right? Questions? And also from these laws, things like astrology, astronomy, your birth chart, all of those things come out of the law by way of the elements. Because why? The law of correspondence. So everything is balanced above you. So that means below you have to have the same balance, because it corresponds as above, so below. So this is why now you have your birth chart. I don't know how to read birth charts, but I'm telling you, this is where they came from, because astrology, astronomy, chemistry, all of those things came from law. And we call it science. It's law. Science is the effect, the thing that you can see and interact with. Does that make sense? So you see where the law is? Everywhere. It is everywhere. So when you look up at the stars, if you stargaze, you'll find that they have their own cyclical pattern that they use. Cyber, what a beautiful question. So you'll see everything has its own rhythm that it moves in. Law of rhythm. Cyber asks, are all religions based on hermetics? Sorry, I had to drink. My throat was dry. Yes. Yes. That's the answer. Yes. Because look at what you're learning when you read scripture. I cannot quote the Quran because I am not Muslim. I have not been exposed to it, and I haven't gone to look at it. I did not, because I know where it comes from. Everything is based on law. I grew up with the Bible. So when you hear things like, you reap what you sow, as a man thinketh, therefore he is. So long as the earth remains, there should be seed time and harvest. That's all. Seed time and harvest is what? Rhythm. As a man thinketh, therefore he is. Correspondence. You reap what you sow. Correspondence. So all holy books, they have their essence, their fragrance is from the law, because they could not have gotten the information from thin air, because it's like mathematics. We were taught mathematics. We didn't just 1 + 1 is 2. No, we were taught mathematics, just like you were taught the law, because the law governs all of it. Mathematics is why everything has to balance. Same on the left has to be on the right. It has to balance. So cosmology, all of these things, the Akashic records, as above, so below, the information is always there. So when you hear the word, now here's the thing, then you begin to understand the philosophy of it. Then you say, but that person is psychic. So the minute you hear psychic now, because you know the law, you know that that is mentalism. That person has a skill that they have developed that can read your projection. They can understand your projection, is what they're doing. That's why they're psychic. But it's not magic. It's not woo-woo. They just have the ability to feel the undercurrent. They're sensitive. So wherever they learned how to do it, it's practice. Some people are naturally gifted this way, right? So they can feel your projections. They can sense your projections. So they tell it back to you. A hypnotist will do the same thing. It's mentalism. They have the ability to give the suggestion. They're using the law of gender. When they give the suggestion, they're projecting it into you. And if it is already in you, you won't resist it, because it's already in you. As within, so without. So it has to match. Does that make sense to you today? As to why that Hermetic philosophy, it's so important to know, right? The root of something, so you can determine the fruit that will emerge. Because you planted that seed, it has to root. It has a foundation. The Hermetic teachings are to be found in all lands, among all religions, but never identified with any particular country, nor with any particular religious sect. This is because of the warning of the ancient teachers against allowing the secret doctrine to become crystallized into a creed. Meaning, just you want it in a way to become like a religion, but not. To become like a religion in the aspect that you memorize, but not like a religion because you're not mindlessly memorizing. You are actively interacting with the law. You are moving with it. You are seeing it. You're tasting it. You're touching it. You are knowing it. But religion, you just parrot. You have no experience to go on. That's why you believe. But with Hermetics, you have to test it, because you'll see it for yourself. And thus you will know, and you're not going to be put in a position where you are manipulated or controlled. It frees you and you know it. That's the difference between a religion and Hermeticism. Oh, it looks like religion because you're being taught something. But the fundamental of Hermeticism is that it empowers you to use your mind, because it is a mental creation. The world, the universe is a mental creation. So when you know that, even though you've memorized all of the 7 principles, it is not a religion to you. because it's not dictating you better do this or else. If you look at religions, you will see the punishment in religion. So that's what that statement means when it says, yes, you want it to be universal because the law is universal. No one country can claim it and say, we did this. Nobody can do that. Oh, sure, it was in Egypt. Well, it was also in the Mayan civilization. It was also in India. It was also in China. So you see, it is everywhere. And because nobody can lay claim to it, you know why nobody can lay claim to it? Because it is the all. That's why all people have it. You see, it permeates everywhere. This is why it prevents you from saying Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Orthodox, Protestant. You see? Look at all of those sects, S-E-C-T-S, that we have. Look at all of those pockets. Everybody's now saying something similar but different. But the law is what it is. You can't bastardize it. You can't break it down and distort it. Thus, it is hermetically sealed. This is what is so beautiful about it. Is Enoch the origin of hermetics? I'm going to say this to you. I can't say that he is because I don't know. I know hermetics comes from Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, the thrice born. Right? The thrice born, Hermes. That's where he got his name. So if it was from Enoch, it would be the Enochian principles. Right? There's the Enochian Bible. Right? The book of Enoch, which is not in the Bible. Right? Things are named after who they're named after so that you know their origin. And Hermes was the scribe. He wrote things. He took notes from the gods and passed on the information. He taught, actually. He was the teacher of reading and writing and mathematics and such. Chemistry, him. That's all him. So is Enoch the origin of hermetics? No. Because then it would be Enochian. It would not be Hermeticism. Make sense? Queen Red Pill, hi. Did you ask a question, Queen Red Pill, or am I missing something in there? I just want to make sure that I'm catching everybody's questions because I'm not in the chat on my iPad, so I have to scroll all the time. I'm using my iPad to scroll through chapter 1. So let me go in here. So back in historical times now, I don't know if some of you have heard of Gnosticism, right? The Gnostics, they practiced Hermeticism. But after Constantine was like, nah, we need one ruler. We need one religion. So a lot of that was lost. Giordano Bruno, he was, wow. You should read his story, Giordano Bruno. I just love his name because I have an Italian friend and, you know, they just say it so beautifully. Giordano Bruno. Like, it's just, wow. Amazing language. But all of those things, if you think about it, they suppressed it for such a long time. But if you look around now, you'll see it starting to make a comeback in a way, kind of. I know there's me and Billy Carson. There's one more. I follow him on Insta. He simply teaches the KYBALION, right? You want to learn how to protect yourself more? Well, that would fall under the law of mentalism. right? So to protect yourself, which means you've got to be able to see projections. You have to be able to see law of gender and recognize it when it's happening. Because you don't have to refuse something, you just don't accept it. So if you see it and you're like, oh, I don't want to partake in that, well, then you won't partake in it. You're right, you won't partake in it because you said no. You just looked at it and you said no. But if you don't recognize the law of gender, and when something is projected, you will accept it and think that it is yours. And thus it can make you upset. It can hurt your feelings because you've allowed that thing to enter you. But that's another day. That's another chapter. So that's how you protect your own mind, by recognizing what a projection is. Yeah? Because you're doing it here. You show up to learn, right? You show up to learn. You're taking in the information. But if I was just meeting you on the street and had no idea who you were, and I just started telling you these things, that's a projection into them, just like it's a projection into you. But the projection into you is deliberate because you're here of your own volition. So now you can tell the difference. If you choose to go somewhere, well, then you're going to accept what is being projected into you. You know, you go to the mall and there's an ad for something. You're at the mall, so that projection is going to come at you. So now you get to decide, okay, I'm here. I have one focus, in and out. That way you minimize what's being projected into you. Once you see it or hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, you've taken it on, unless you say, no, that's not for me, right? I'm just trying to read. Do you have any suggestions for staying balanced when one can feel everything from everyone? How do you stay balanced? Because you can feel everything from everyone. So that would mean empath. Is that what you're trying to say to me, Queen Red Pill? I'm trying to find the words to answer this question. In order to protect yourself from all of the projections that are coming, you fortify yourself in such a way that says, okay, I'm going out there today. The people that I am purposefully going to interact with, like I do this every morning with you guys, right? I do this every morning with you. I give of myself to you, right? When you have questions, even before you have questions, depending on who I speak to, I can feel you because I've allowed myself to be open to you. I chose it because I interact with you deliberately. But if I'm going out to the mall, if I have not deliberately given myself over to something, that means I am guarded. I say, I'm here and I'm interacting with this person. And so if you're talking to someone who's just, come up like I had today, he says to me, I know I look like I'm drunk, but I know what I'm doing. And I thought to myself, okay, I can have this conversation. I'm like, I can have this conversation. And so I stood there and I heard what he said. And as he was speaking to me, because I'm not deaf, I can hear him, I simply said, all I said to myself was, silver and gold have I not, but such as I have, I give to you. Relinquish. You know what you want in life. Have the courage to do it. That's all I said to myself. I didn't say it to him. He's talking to me. Now, I did not put myself in danger. Let's be wise here. You don't get close enough to somebody. You never put yourself in danger. But when it comes to what you're asking, I can give that example, right? Because it happened right like 2-3 hours ago. So even as he's speaking to me, I am projecting. My vibration is higher than his. So 1, I'm protected there. 2, I am projecting outward seeing him at his best. That's 2. So I am protected. I'm busy projecting. I'm not taking in, I'm projecting. This is how you protect yourself. You be the one to always make sure your vibration is such, you know the law. It's in your heart all the time. You speak it, you think about it. It's there. It protects. Just because you are thinking of it, it automatically will do that. So that you now can be the one in charge of your own projection. You notice something, you can do it also. You ever see somebody and you didn't approach them? Actually, I was walking down the street and this guy, no shirt on, and he goes, what did he say? He goes, stay where you are, stay where you are. It's not safe. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself. So of course I stopped because I'm like, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I'm like, better safe than sorry. So I just stood there and I said, all right, I'm safe. Everything is all right. Because I'm practicing my Care Bear stare, how to project outward more, right? But have you ever encountered someone where you look at them and you're like, something says to you, oh, don't even go near, because you just feel something that repulses you? You can practice that. You can practice, but I don't recommend practice being repulsive. Come on, man. But it is a way that stops people from approaching you if you don't want to interact with them. It's all a matter of the set of your face, the set of your jaw, the look in your eyes. That's how you know who to approach and who to not. So we are already protecting ourselves. So when you walk under the light of the law, that is protection. Leave that with me, because I'm learning more about it also, because I get that question quite a bit. So I now have to go back to the emerald tablets and see, okay, because there are certain things, but without the foundation of the law, it might be a problem. Agnieszka, how can I apply the laws to lose weight? Okay. What actually do you want? You want to have a healthy lifestyle, correct? That is what you actually want. You don't want to lose weight because the focus is on weight. Your focus is on weight. So what happens to you if you are focused on weight? That is the direction you will go in, weight. And normally, when we are thinking about weight and we want to lose it, we are frustrated with where we're at. We don't like what we look like in the mirror. We're like, oh my God, I want to lose this weight. And so when you're thinking about losing weight, it's not from a good place. It's from a place of frustration, desperation even. Why? You know, but if you say, you know what? I want to have a healthy lifestyle. Now, where are you focused? A healthy lifestyle. So what will that encompass? What will that embody? You put your focus on a healthy lifestyle, because now you will have a certain intuition or inclination. Eat this. Because I have them here. Atamoya, sugar apple. Because I like sweet things. I also like mango. They're just sitting here. So I thought, why not? And one of my favorites, which way do I go? Mangosteen. So if you say you want to have a healthy lifestyle, you now do what? You get intrigued by healthy choices. And so you begin to start making healthy choices. And you say, you know what? Healthy people also move their bodies. Well, which part of moving your body do you like? Do you like dancing? Do you like walking? Hey, then do that. But where now you're focused instead of losing weight, because listen to how they make you feel. I'm going to say them to you, and you're going to say them to yourself. And the way they feel will tell you the direction and the vibration that you're going in. You know what? I just want to have a healthy lifestyle. Well, that's going to make you feel good. Say it to yourself. I have a healthy lifestyle. I'm creating a healthy lifestyle. Man, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. See the difference between those two things? That is how you use the law. You determine what it is you would like to do. You determine what it is you would like to do. You want to do what? Have a healthy lifestyle. So because you are focused on healthy lifestyle, that's what you will accomplish. But if you are focused on losing weight, you're not thinking of what do you, listen to it again. Because remember, it's nothing that you want to do, it's what do you want to create. So to answer this question for you in this form, how can you apply the laws to lose weight? You name what it is you want to create. What do you want to create? A healthy lifestyle. You don't want to create losing weight. If you want to create losing weight, you have to gain weight to lose it, because that's what you want to create, losing weight. But if you want to create a healthy lifestyle, now you will be presented with healthy choices. Does that make sense? Won't creating protection create the opposite? If I say I need protection, I will protect against events. You create events you need protection from. That's why you're always specific. What is it that you're creating? A safe space. You're creating discernment to be able to sense something and not go there, so that you're magically, you notice how I do the bunny ears, in the right place at the right time, because you listened to your intuition. It always speaks. I'll give you an example in a minute, but I'm just reading the questions. So you would rather say there's nothing more powerful than the light that I am. Yes. That's always an option. But if you're going to say there's nothing more powerful, you're going to test that theory. Cyber. As within, so without, responsible for fatness? If so, how do we quit being fat internally? Well, I've never heard that question asked that way before. As within, so without. So you're fat on the inside? No, you're not fat on the inside. You're holding on to something or things on the inside, is what you're doing. You're holding on to things. You're accumulating. You have an accumulation on the inside. Thus, there's an accumulation on the outside. And that accumulation can take many forms. So if the weight is showing up on the outside, are you comfort eating? So if you're comfort eating, then there's sadness there that you have an accumulation of. You want to make yourself feel better. From what? Why? Investigate that. Because polarity, I don't know how we got to polarity when we're on chapter 1, but it's okay, we're here. If you see where you are and what you are doing. So you say, you know what? I eat to make myself feel better. That's where you are right now. And that's what you're doing. So what are you trying to feel better from? What's got you all discombobulated? What's got you like that? You write that down, because it's polarity. Where are you now and what are you doing? So now that you can see clearly, because you shed light on it, what you're doing. Yeah? Where are you now and what you're doing? Where do you want to be? You know what? I want to feel lighter on the inside. This thing that's going on. And once you begin to name it, now you will see how to move from there to where you want to be. But you have to name it. You must be honest with the self. That is what polarity charges you with. Does that make sense, Cyber? Oh, wait. Hang on, Cyber, hang on. Romans 14 verse 2. All right, hold on. One person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. You see, this is something that Neville and Abdullah spoke about. It doesn't have anything to do with food. Read it again. It has nothing to do with food. Accept the one whose faith is weak. right? So one person's faith allows them to eat anything. What allows them to eat anything? Their faith. So if the faith is weak, well, then so is the gut. Well, because as within, so without. It has nothing to do with the food. This is why Neville marveled at what Abdullah drank and ate. And you're like, how did he still walk, you know? But he always remained trim based upon the pictures we saw of Abdullah. There are not very many, right? He was always slender of face. So you could presume what the rest of his body looked like. We can only presume. But it is not what you eat. How do you feel about what you're eating? Oh my God, I have to eat this. Oh my God. What do you think that's going to do to your body? Let me tell you something. Anybody who's ever heard me eat, they'll all tell you the same thing. Why do you have to make it sound so, Angela? Because listen, when I open, it's not ripe. When you open this, right, it's kind of like a sour sop. It's a sugar apple. So when it's ripe and you pop it open, and the flesh is white on the inside, and it is sweet, and it is juicy. And so when you can't, it's nothing really to chew because you're going to chew the seeds. You have to suck the flesh off the seed. So when you do that, that is so good. The same thing for the mango. When you cut the skin off and you bite into that flesh, the first thing I say is, good God. The smell alone is tantalizing. Look at this one is even more beautiful. The color. Does that not, it's like a sunset. You're like, good Lord, that is beautiful. And then the smell captivates you. And you're like, oh Lord, I can't wait to bite into you. And seriously, this is exactly how I eat it. It is exactly how I sound when I eat it. It might be a little worse, but you know how it is. Only my son and my bestie have to suffer through that. Yeah. Even eggs. A beautiful soft boiled egg, and you just, oh Lord, save me. Or honey.
What is wrong with you?
You get a spoonful of honey and you're like, oh, like the food is beautiful. So why not take pleasure in it? And you notice by the time you're done eating it, you're full, and you don't actually overeat because it was a pleasure to do what you did. And so that's how I do it. So if you read that scripture again, if the faith of someone is weak, then what they eat will affect them. Their faith, not the food, the faith, your perception of the thing you're eating. Cyber, does that make sense? Yes. Agnieszka. Creating a healthy lifestyle. Because that's what you want to create. But if you say you want to lose weight, you have to create the weight to lose it, because that's what you said you're creating. So, yes, the weight of your burdens, because you see, comfort eating is an effect. What is the cause? But we only want to look at the comfort eating. Every cause has an effect. So you must look for the cause. It is there. It is there. Right? KYBALION. Let me go back to it. And funny, Cyber, that you should say that. How timely. Because even to this day, we use the term hermetic in the sense of secret. Secret or sealed so that nothing can escape, etc. And this by reason of the fact that the followers of Hermes always observe the principle of secrecy in their teachings. Why would they do that? Because they did not believe in casting pearls before swine, but rather held to the teaching, milk for babes, meat for strong men. both of which maxims are familiar to readers of the Christian scriptures, but both of which have been used by the Egyptians for centuries before the Christian era. So this is, because we're in chapter 1, I'm going all the way back because I have to stay true to what I'm teaching you here, because I want people to be able to partake in the rest of what's going on, to learn these principles. This is why you take things in a progression. As they say, you have to crawl before you walk, right? And so this, again, is why the parables exist. Because you are seeing who is ready, and they're seeing themselves, and without judgment, right? So I know we have this, I'm going to look it up so I can read the definition. Philosophy. Definition. So it's called philosophy. But some people think philosophy is more like this woo-woo thing. When in actuality, philosophy is the study of nature, causes or principles of reality, knowledge or values based on logical reasoning. A system of thought based on or involving such study. The study of the theoretical underpinnings of a particular field or discipline. The philosophy, the nature of something. I want to know what the etymology is, because PH, let's see what the etymology is, because physiology, etymology. Did I do it? Did I spell it wrong? Philosophy. Etymology. So the etymology, I'm just trying to read it and put it into, it's directly from Latin and Greek. The love of knowledge, pursuit of wisdom, systematic investigation. So philo means loving. Sophia, knowledge, wisdom, wise, learned. Philosophy, knowledge. So where's the knowledge, right? What do you do? Who learns knowledge? Mind. Mind. Because you're thinking, right? You're thinking. You're the pursuit of wisdom. Philosophy. So Sophia. It's interesting because now I want Sophia, allegedly, but again, it tells you who it is. That's the one thing I like about the Latin language. It tells you where something is, right? I'll turn this way. And the reason why I'm saying it to you is so now you can understand the philosophia. So who is Sophia? The Latin is beautiful because it tells you what it is and where it is, who it belonged to. So now the example for that is temporal mandibular. Temporal, the temple, mandibular, the mandible, the jaw. So if you say, oh, I'm having temporal mandibular pain, you know where to look. You won't look here. You won't look there. You will look temporal mandibular. You will look here. So when you say philosophia, philosophy, Hermetic, Enochian, language is set up in such a way that it tells you where it comes from and the words that are similar. This is why etymology and learning the etymology of words so you understand better what you are reading. Etymology. Because remember, I told you, occult. Because remember, the next time you read something, that's why when I told them to read chapter 1, you don't just read it on the page and say nothing. Look, you're doing, if you do the way I tell you, you're using all of your senses. You're holding the book, touch. Turning the page, touch. You can smell the paper, right? You can smell the paper. Oh, this boy.
What?
So then you see the words. You're using your eyes. You say the words. You hear the words. Do you see how many things are being done at once? You're seeing, you're hearing, you're speaking, you're touching. So the information you take in when you read out loud will have an impact upon you. It will impress itself upon your subconscious mind much faster than just because you're only using one sense, maybe two, eyes and touch, right? So does that make sense? That's why I say read it out loud, because when you read it out loud, especially if you read it out loud a couple times, things will begin to make sense and you'll begin to understand them for yourself, right? Are there any more questions regarding the KYBALION on chapter 1? Which is the philosophy of the Hermetic Principles, their origin. That's okay. One of these days I will read you the Emerald Tablets and we'll study them too. Let me know if you want to be a part of that class, because now we're going way, way, way back. See, there's the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. Listen again. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. One more time. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. So when you're ready to hear, you'll hear. This is why you can't force anybody to do anything, because when the lips of wisdom are closed, so when the ears are open to understanding, that's when it is time to speak. Cause and effect. Lips of wisdom, they're closed. Why? Why are they closed? Because the ears are unopened. Cause and effect. Make sense? Ruth, darling, it is called the KYBALION. In my description beneath this video, you will see purchase the KYBALION. That link should still work because I don't make any money from it. It's just, it will take you to an Amazon, which is the page, that Amazon page that has the actual KYBALION, right? That I use too, because it's the same by the 3 initiates. And so that's the one I have. I got it in hard copy. I don't have it here because one of us has it sitting on her night table. I wonder who that would be, but that's okay. I have it here on the iPad. So I'm always ready. I can pull it up on my phone. I'm always ready. So yeah, the Kabbalah is the Torah is Jewish. And then the Kabbalah, yeah, that's Jewish also. But it's the KYBALION, KYBALION. What a name, huh? It is a name. Let me see. Let me see. Definition. Let's see. The KYBALION is described as a study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece. Is a book originally published in 1908. Often identified as the New Thought pioneer. They purport that he wrote it, but we don't know. Yeah, the KYBALION. I'm just looking to see what they have the definition of KYBALION to mean. Definitions.net. Huh. Intriguing. Intriguing. Are there any more questions? Oh, Agnieszka, you want to be part of the study of the Emerald Tablets? Well, I think it would be beneficial, actually, because you get to, and I did actually, because I'm going to plug it because I can, because that's why I was drawn to it in the first place. I narrated the Emerald Tablets for Rebecca Marina Messenger. She has them laid out quite like the Bible. So you have Emerald Tablet 1, and then you have verses, so that it's always easy to go back to find a verse in, you know, you can always go back and find where you are. So you say Emerald Tablet 3, and it's going to be verse. I know there's 48 verses in the in Emerald Tablet 3, if memory serves me correctly. So it's easier to find it. So you just don't look through Emerald Tablet 3 and go, oh my God, where am I? So I like the way she has it broken out by book, so by tablet, and by verse in the tablet. Oh, amazing. So that's why I provide that link, Ruth, so that people can find the exact KYBALION and you don't have to think about which one. It does? The Emerald Tablets keep showing up for you? Wow, Agnieszka, see, you're ready. They keep showing cause and effect, right? So I'm just scrolling through here to just make sure that I've covered the questions. And so because people have been so faithful to learn the KYBALION, you know, yes, I know a lot of people would like to say, oh, how do you know it's real? We're going to talk about that, because this is why I love it so much. This is why I love the law. If I go outside and I plant something, I know exactly what I'm going to get. This is correspondence. This is causation, right? You can't argue. I can eat this fruit. I can tell you what tree. It's a mango tree. Now, what species of mango? I don't know, but I know it's a mango tree. How do you know it's a mango tree? Because mangoes have a specific shape. That's why I'm confused some days, because this is a mangosteen. You have a mango, you have a mangosteen. They sound similar, but their flesh is different. This is a hard outer purple shell. When you cut it open, it has white segmented flesh on the inside with either one pit or two, you know, but it has a signature look. It has a signature smell. So you know what was planted. There's no way around that. If you look at an ear of corn, whether that corn is a red corn, blue corn, red, like yellow corn, white corn, it doesn't matter. It's corn. So you had to plant corn. And because you can see the color of the kernels, you know what color corn you planted. If you plant purple corn, you cannot get blue corn. You can't get a pink kernel either, because you didn't plant the pink kernel. you planted the yellow one. So you have to get the yellow corn. So those things, when you see them, you got the sun, right? You know what direction it rises in, or in other words, what direction the earth turns to face the sun in the morning. You know it's morning, then it is in the east. That is the law of rhythm. You cannot dispute that. Now, if it's morning and the sun is in the west, child, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. So now, if it is sunset, well, you're looking west. Predictable, right? That is law. We have our calendars. We know all the phases of the moon. Why? Because somebody followed the rhythm. So you see, it's nothing that, well, maybe it's right. Well, I don't know if the law of rhythm really exists. You can't argue, because everybody knows. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in. If you're AM, that sun is in the east. If you're saying goodnight and you're, oh, honey, isn't that sunset beautiful? You're looking west. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. Doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter what time zone you're in. Now, if you go to Australia, their toilets flush the other way. Yikes. Because you crossed a meridian. And their summer is winter for us. And right now we're going into summer. They're going into winter. So if their toilets flush the other way, well, then clearly they're the other way, because you have to cross over. When we go driving and there's a certain meridian that you drive over, it's invisible. You can't see it. You can't see the line. But when you cross over, everybody stops and gets out of their car to go look at the water, because the water goes the other way, because you've crossed this invisible line. And because you've crossed the invisible line, what is the evidence? The water goes the other way. As within, so without. Even though you don't see that line there, the evidence of it, because seriously, when you drive over it, it's between Alberta, BC. When you drive over it, you just watch the cars line up. It's the most fascinating thing, but it is law. And they're like, oh my God, what's happening? The invisible line that you don't see, when you cross it, the water goes the other way. That's telling you something. So now they always tell you, look for the North Star and you won't be lost. Harriet Tubman did it. She knew where that North Star was. Rhythm, because it will be in the sky in the northern hemisphere all the time. Big Dipper, Little Dipper, same thing. These are rhythms. They move in rhythm. So now you can't say, well, maybe I believe in the law. You see the evidence of it. So always remember, that is why the law is so important to study. Because if you can look up to the sky and see a rhythm, well, then you also have a rhythm. Why? As above, so below. Right? This is indisputable. And that's why it's so necessary to know. And the funny thing is, we know them already. To some degree, we know them already. But they're back there. I'll share with you, because I thought it was cool. I'm in the grocery store now. I didn't hear the music because I was thinking about something. I was looking for something. I was looking for that flaky salt to sprinkle on my brownies, because I'm going to make some brownies. Family-friendly brownies, so that even minors can eat them. Let me just specify that.
Can we have brownies, Mom? Like right now after you're done.
Yes, I'll make them. That's why I got the chocolate.
Top G.
So what I'm saying to you is, I was focused looking for this salt. And then I started singing to myself. I was singing, no Tracy Chapman, you got a fast car, right? The phrase that came out of my mouth was, need someone Need someone. That's all I just opened my mouth and it came out. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, where'd that, because I seriously asked myself, where'd that song come from? Why am I singing that song? Within 5 or 7 seconds, what comes on the speaker? That's what she says. I need someone. I need someone. That's what she says. And I was like, wait, I was not listening to music consciously, not by any stretch of the means, because I was focused on finding the dang salt. So I'm reading labels, and the song just came out. That phrase just came out of my mouth. So after I gave up because I couldn't see the salt, they didn't have flaky salt, so I'm gonna have to go somewhere different. So I couldn't find the salt, so I said, whatever. And after I stopped singing it, seriously, 7 seconds, between 5 and 7 seconds, I hear it on the speaker, and I was like, so here's the beauty of what your subconscious mind will do for you. Because I love to sing, right? Oh, look, you can't get me out of the grocery store if the music is pumping. Okay. So that's my thing. So I'm not listening for music, but my subconscious mind is like, girl, you like that song. And I'm like, what song? And my mouth opens and I sing what I like about that song. And then the song, I am now consciously aware that the song is playing. So it's like your subconscious mind predicts based upon who you are and your actions and your activities. So why am I saying that to you? I'm saying that to you because that is how you live your life. That happens all the time. In one way, shape, with me, it happened with music. How does it happen with you? This is the power that your subconscious mind holds. You might not be conscious of something at the surface. This is why we make decisions. We do things. I sing on autopilot. Every morning I do it when a song comes to mind because it matches what I'm saying to you. I sing the song. That's my personality because I love music. So the subconscious mind always will present you with those opportunities. So, oh, sure, it was an opportunity to sing a song, Angela. Big deal. You think it stops there? It doesn't. It doesn't stop there. The capability, like seriously, I'm sitting here and I'm smelling the fruit. I digress, I'm so distracted. But do you understand what I'm saying to you? The law works. The law heard that projection. Well, I subconsciously heard that projection. The song was playing. Consciously, I didn't hear it because that's not what I was doing. But it was projected. And because it was already in me, it had to come out. So where in your life now, yeah, what are we walking around with? Rhythm just means you can count from one occurrence to when it occurs again. Andrea, rhythm means you can count from one occurrence, so when it occurs, to when it occurs again. Which is polarity, from, to. So, like when you hear music, you got a 4/4 time, right? You can tell when that rhythm stops, like when that beat stops, you know when it's gonna come in. Like if you listen to UB40, you make my life so rich. You could have been some money, right? The rhythm is just the time that something occurs. You can count the time that something occurs. That's what rhythm is. Why? Because it is always moving from where it is to where it's going. And it has a set. It's set. That's why you can call it 4/4. You can call it 6/8 time. So that's what rhythm means. The ability to count from when something happens to when it happens again. That's how come they know there's 28 days in the cycle for lunar cycle. You count, you start at day 1. So by the time it takes you 28 to get back to 1. That is what rhythm means. the distance between the occurrence and the reoccurrence. So when it ends and starts again, that is rhythm. Andrea, you can't catch the rhythm? Listen more. Listen more. That's what you do. Do you know why you listen more so you can catch the rhythm? Because you will begin to hear then something repeats. Like when I listen to Islands in the Stream, that is what we are. There's the rhythm. So now the bass player comes in. He is going to play the same rhythm. He's, shoot, I can't even remember how he does it now, but he plays the same rhythm. So when you listen to a song, you hear the whole thing. But now listen to the song again, and you're going to hear the drummer. You're going to hear his hi-hat coming. You're going to hear his tom. You're going to hear his rim shot. Erykah Badu, rim shot, a biggie, rim shot, a, because that's what the drummer does. So what happens to us if you want to begin to feel rhythm, because that's what you do, right? If you have PMS, you feel rhythm because you feel when it comes, you know, because things get a little heavy, a little tender, you know, you get a little cranky, and you're feeling the rhythm. So you are already feeling it. So the key is when you listen, don't dance, just listen. And you'll hear the verse is going to be the same. The drum is going to be the same. The bass is going to play the same thing over and over and over, but they will all complement each other. They will fit together as one song. And that is, I love your question, Andrea, because your question shows you correspondence. When you say, yeah, but the rhythm, it'll show you correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. See the rhythm that they play, right? When they play that rhythm, they do it over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. That's what they do. So once you get a sense of beginning to feel where the occurrence happens, when you listen, see where you can hear it sound the same way again. This is how dancers do it. They hear when things change. So when things change, their moves change to match what's happening there. Or they maintain that movement for as long as that thing stays the same. Andrea, does that help? But it's a beautiful question. Like that's what I mean when I say the law is indisputable. Even if you roll the dice, a thing that seems random. The thing that seems random, rolling of the dice. Keep rolling and you will see a pattern begin to emerge. It's not random. You just got to keep rolling the dice. If you just roll the dice 3 times. Now there's 6 sides to the dice, right? Memory serves me correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? I think it's 6. So roll it 6 times. How many times do you have to roll to get to number 1 again? Write that down. That number. How many times do you have to roll to get to number 2? Don't break the law, y'all. This is how people count cards. Some people, right, their skill is to see a pattern. That's what rhythm is. It's a pattern. And so they have the skill to see it. That's why if they count cards, you don't want them in your casino. Come on, because they'll rob you blind, right? Because they can count and they know when to bet because they know it takes this many. I can count 30 before I can get number 1 again. And that's when they bet. Oh God, I can't believe I just told you that. Again, don't break the law. But now that you understand, that's why, that's how you develop your skill to move with the music, because you have to understand what the music is doing. Ruth must be a musician, not a musician, but a singer. I like to sing. I grew up singing. It's my biggest challenge, spotting the laws in my daily life. And that's why we learn them, so that we can spot them. A projection is somebody telling you something. When you regurgitate it back, you've been impregnated. Because remember, masculine and feminine. Right now, as you listen, you are feminine. You're taking in the information. Feminine. You're listening. You're learning. So you're feminine. But now when you regurgitate it back to prove what you know, you're masculine. You're projecting it outward. But what are you projecting outward? The life that you just took in. So if you remember the motion of creation, there's a projection, which is the cause. And when you get the effect, it comes back. Every effect, you're going to get another cause, and you're going to project. So there's the infinity symbol. It is always going to be the same way. Every time. Project, accept. Project, accept. It is a rhythm. Creation is a rhythm. And if you have children, you know what I'm talking about. I digress. Anywho, I trust that chapter 1 made sense, because chapter 1 is simply the philosophy. Where is this thing coming from? Who is Hermes? Hermes had many names. That's why he's called Hermes Trismegistus. Three names that they can tell you. Thoth, Egyptian. Tahuti, African. Hermes, Greek. Not to be confused with Hermes. Right? No, Hermes. Hermes. But Hermes is the French, yes? Anyway, that is chapter 1. Just understanding why it is important, where it came from, who. And that's why I say the emerald tablets. You've got to go back there to learn about the 9. But again, milk and meat, all in time. But if you start with the foundation of a thing, you can now build from there, Agnieszka, and that's how you'll be able to spot the laws everywhere around you. But you can see them, Agnieszka. You go outside and you see the trees, you have leaves above. What are you guaranteed to find below? A same intricate system. Roots. As above, so below. When they're below, we call them roots, to anchor. When it's above, we call them branches and leaves. So you see the law everywhere. Yes? You see the law when you drink and then you have to pee. As within, so without. Because, you also see causation. Because you drank so much water, now you have to go. Effect. So now when you say, this is why I love traditional Chinese medicine, because it is law. If somebody comes in and says, oh my God, I'm constipated. Okay, so you're taking information in, but you don't have the ability to go outward. And now you have to find the cause. It is not enough to take a laxative, because a laxative, yes, it will move you, but you will get stuck again. Why? Because you have not addressed the cause. So you see how Western medicine does not do that. I trust that makes sense. When you understand the laws, thinking becomes clear. You know that every cause has an effect, and every effect, its cause. So what are you experiencing? Somebody asked that question in a Reddit forum. What if you don't believe in the law? It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. There's high tide, there's low tide, there's morning, there's night. You can't escape the law. It's nothing to be believed in, it is something to be known. Yes, Ruth, the yin and yang. or as the West would say, yin and yang, but it's in yang, because we have to learn pinyin so we can say it. Look, I'm not a pro, but I say it as best as I can. In and yang. Because it's not yang. Of course, it looks like it, but it's not. It's yang. In, yang. Into numerology? No, but my favorite number is 9. And allegedly, my life path number is 1 because they're born leaders. Right? But they're all based on law. Now, after you get a taste of the law and you can apply them, you'll begin to understand what Thoth says, and you'll understand what he means when he says, yes, all of these things are here. Astronomy, astrology, numerology, they're all here. But you have to have the capacity to use the law to rise above them and to not be manipulated. So because also in TCM, you go by way of the elements. Some people have a fire personality. Those people get bored easily and need to be doing something all the time. And they'll drive you mad because they have to go, go, go. They can't sit still. Water people, they're a little sedentary. They don't move a lot, but when they do, you know they're fired up. Right? So when you say things like, oh, I'm a Pisces. So because Pisces is that way, you're going to let it dictate who you are, or will you rise above it? That is what Thoth is saying. Yes, these things are great, but we've got to rise above them. But it helps to learn and know them and understand them, so you can now apply the law of mentalism to your Piscean behavior, to your fire behavior. That is how you apply the law to all things. It's not good enough to just learn the numerology and the astrology. Apply the law to it to get the full maximum benefit. Anyway, that is lesson 1 and the questions that we had regarding the Hermetic philosophy. Its origin, the people involved in it, what's involved in Hermetic philosophy, and why it's important. That is what this is. So if you're not a part of law school, this was your teaser. And you want to, they're already in it. So now that this part is done, we will move on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the 7 Hermetic Principles. We'll begin to name them, which I teach you every morning. But we'll go deeper in them. And the questions that people don't understand, they will submit, and we'll go over them based upon what's in chapter 2. So I look forward to seeing you. And below the description here in my LINKTREE, there's a little envelope. Email me. Email me if you have questions. If you want to do something and you feel like you cannot, send me a note. Send me a message. Celine Dion's had a song, Send Me a Lover. I was saying to you, send me a message. Right? Send me a message. Yes, slide into my DMs. Right? So I trust some things made more sense to you as to the origin, where this stuff came from, and how we're going to get better at applying it. Because it is not enough to hear. You know why? That's like saying I'm hungry, but you don't eat. What good is the food? Allow it to do its job. So apply. Eat when you're hungry. Drink when you're thirsty. Apply the law when you are living. Huh? I trust that makes sense. Yes, Ruth. That's the pronunciation because my professors were Chinese. So you say it like them because they're Chinese. Yeah, Agnieszka, because you're part of that group now. You're part of law school now. So every month you'll get the link so that you can read your chapter and study it and ask your questions. You submit the questions, and then we'll do another live stream like this, but only for people who are in law school. But here's what I say to you. I teach you this every day. Apply. And if you're still stuck, it's all right. Keep applying. Come and ask questions. I'm not withholding anything from you. It's not in my best interest to do so. That's why I teach you. Because I love the freedom, and I know you do. And the way to get it is through the law. And that's, I'll close with this because I'm not on 10% yet. I'll get that next warning. The reason why people struggle with their manifestations is because they think manifestation is something that just, you got to be a pro at it. You are already a pro at manifesting because manifestation is a byproduct of the law, cause and effect. But if you don't know those laws, this is why we get frustrated and caught up because we want to change our lives. But without all of the information, how can you make a wise choice? How can you discern without the knowledge? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And then what do? They get frustrated. The law doesn't work. No, you just don't have all of the information. And I give you the information because I don't want you knocking on my door. Angela, I don't get it. How come this doesn't work? So I give you the information so you can be self-sustaining. Because nothing is worse than always having to go to somebody. Help me, Lord. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be free and to think clearly and apply. But first we have to learn. Right? And that's why they give up and they say, this doesn't work. That's hoo-ha. I don't believe in manifestation. It's nothing to be believed in. It is something to be known. And the way to know is to experience it. It is happening all the time around us, all day, every single day. But because we don't know, we have special words. Oh, look, it's a miracle. No, it is law. You did something and that thing happened. Causation. It's not a miracle. It is law. But we call it a miracle or we call it magic because we don't know that it is law. I'm sorry if I'm taking all the fun out of it. Oh, you want it to be magic? I'm sorry. It's law. Once you apply the law, it is. The next class, I'm using my phone. I can't pull up my calendar because it's in my phone. I will post something in my community tab and I will tell you to start reading chapter. You're here now. If you have the KYBALION, start reading chapter 2, which is the 7 Hermetic Principles. Start reading it. Read it out loud. If you have the book, read it out loud. And I also provide the audio because I narrated it so that you can follow along also. Right? Because some people like to do that. They like to read it or hear it. But I say do them all. And there's a reason. Because you impress the subconscious mind because you're using all 5 senses at the same time. Not just 1 or 2, but all 5 in their totality. So start chapter 2, the 7 Hermetic Principles. Write your questions down and submit them so that when I compile your questions and we show up and we do a live stream, we can answer your questions so that things make sense. Yes? So Ruth, start reading and then watch for the community post on my YouTube channel and email me, Ruth, so that I can add you to the WhatsApp group if you're going to be a part of law school. I'm looking into Telegram, but I've been so set there on WhatsApp that I don't want to disrupt people and I want to keep it all in one place. So that's what I do. But start reading chapter 2. Now, if you still have questions about chapter 1, that's fine. Submit your questions and I will answer them when we do. I usually answer them right away anyway, for if there's still lingering questions. Make sense? Because life is meant to be beautiful. And that struggle is just, Cyber, you're just getting your wish again, aren't you? This is so bad. Anywho, Does that make sense? Start chapter 2. And I will post the date in there to get your questions in by. And then month end, we'll do the live stream for chapter 2. Yes? Alrighty. You know where to find me, y'all? You know where to find me. And it's time for me to make some brownies.
Have a good day, everyone.
Oh, that's my baby. My little baby. He said, have a good day, everyone. His voice. Oh, he's so sweet. Yes, he's only 14. These young people.
I'm not that young.
Yes, you are. Queen Red Pill, you are most welcome, darling. Thank you. Oh, Queen Red Pill, that reminds me. I'll email you. Check your email. Okie dokie. Because like I say, lesson 2, those will be private. Because I want to be fair to the people who paid. So, I mean, and it's not a lot either. It is $45 US per month through my Patreon to sign up and learn the law. Why am I charging? Because my time. And you know the way Caesar works, right? Caesar's like, girl. But like I said, DM me if it is a challenge. Just DM me. Cyber. And listen, let me tell you something. And I will probably have some sweet cream ice cream with them same warm brownies. Oh, yes, Cyber. Faith. It doesn't take faith. I just got to chew. I enjoy it. I enjoy creating food. So that's why I did food, glorious food. I'm going to go before y'all think I'm nuts. No, you don't say it because he says, Mom, I don't think you're nuts. I know you are. Don't suffer, Cyber. You change your attitude about food. What are your favorite foods? Your favorite fruits? Start there. Yeah? Yes. Yes, Queen Redville. Mm-hmm. that's always what it is every day, isn't it? Always what it is. You learn these things and you apply them. You go from knowledge to wisdom. And so I keep telling you guys, not on a pedestal. I'm in the midst of you. I'm in the midst of you. I love you. And I'll see you soon.